The thunder crashed so loud that Jack Miller jumped in his chair. Rain hit the windows of his small house like tiny rocks. He looked at the old clock on the wall. It was past 9 at night, but the storm was getting worse. "Dad, I can't sleep," Emma said from the doorway. His 8-year-old daughter held her favorite stuffed bear tight against her chest. Her brown hair was messy from tossing in bed. Jack turned off the TV and opened his arms. "Come here, sweetheart." Emma ran to him and climbed onto his lap. She was small for her age, but her eyes were bright and full of questions. Those eyes always reminded Jack of his wife Lisa, who had died in a car crash 2 years ago. "The storm sounds scary," Emma whispered. "It's just noise," Jack said, stroking her hair. "Our house is strong. We're safe here." Lightning lit up the whole room for a second. Emma buried her face in Jack's shirt. He was a big man with rough hands from working as a mechanic, but he was always gentle with his daughter. "Tell me about the stars again," Emma said. Jack smiled. Emma loved space more than anything. Her room was full of drawings of rockets and aliens and planets with purple skies. The kids at school called her Space Girl and sometimes laughed at her pictures. But Jack never laughed. He thought his daughter was smart and special. "Well," Jack began, "there are billions of stars out there. Some have planets around them, just like our sun has Earth. Do you think there are people on those planets?" Emma asked. "Maybe," Jack said. "The universe is a big place. There could be all kinds of life out there." Emma sat up and looked at him with serious eyes. "I think they're nice. The space people, I mean. If they came here, I would be their friend." Jack kissed the top of her head. "I'm sure you would, baby." Another flash of lightning filled the room, followed by thunder that shook the house. But this time, something else came with it. A sound that didn't belong. A deep humming noise that got louder and louder, then suddenly stopped. Jack frowned. That was weird. What was it? Emma asked. "Probably just the storm," Jack said. But he didn't sound sure. He had lived in Montana all his life and knew what storms sounded like. This was different. The lights went out. The house became dark, except for the lightning flashes. Jack felt Emma grab his shirt tighter. "It's okay," he said. "The power lines probably got hit. I'll get some candles." Jack carried Emma to the kitchen and found the candles in a drawer. He lit 3 of them and put them on the table. The warm light made Emma feel better. "Can I have some hot chocolate?" she asked. "Sure, but we'll have to use the gas stove since the power is out." Jack made hot chocolate while Emma sat at the table and drew pictures by candlelight. She was always drawing, even during storms. Tonight she was drawing a big silver ship with strange wings. "That's a pretty spaceship," Jack said, bringing her the hot chocolate. "It's not from Earth," Emma said seriously. "It's from far away. And it's hurt." Jack looked at the drawing again. Emma had drawn what looked like damage on one side of the ship. Black marks that might be burns or holes. For a kid's drawing, it was very detailed. "How do you know it's hurt?" Jack asked. Emma shrugged. "I just do. I think it crashed in the storm." Jack was about to say something when he heard a sound outside. Not thunder this time. It sounded like someone calling for help, but the voice was strange. Different. "Did you hear that?" Jack asked. Emma nodded. "Someone needs help." Jack looked out the window, but he couldn't see anything in the dark and rain. The sound came again. It was definitely a voice, and it sounded weak and scared. "Stay here," Jack told Emma. He got his flashlight and rain jacket from the closet. "Don't open the door for anyone but me, okay?" "Be careful, Dad," Emma said. Jack stepped out into the storm. The rain hit him like ice water, and the wind almost knocked him down. He turned on his flashlight and looked around. At first, he saw nothing but trees bending in the wind. Then he heard the voice again. It was coming from behind the house, near the old oak tree where Emma liked to play. Jack walked through the mud, his boots sinking with each step. The flashlight beam danced in the rain, showing him broken branches and leaves everywhere. The storm had made a mess of his yard. He found her lying under the oak tree. At first, Jack thought it was a woman in some kind of costume. She was tall and thin, wearing what looked like silver armor that was cracked and broken. But when his flashlight hit her face, Jack knew this was no costume. Her skin was pale white, with thin silver lines running across her cheeks and forehead, like tattoos. Her hair was long and silver too, spread out in the mud. Her eyes were closed, but Jack could see they were a bright blue color that seemed to glow even in the dark. She was breathing, but just barely. Blood ran from cuts on her arms and head. The silver armor was broken in several places, showing more cuts underneath. Jack stood there for a moment, rain running down his face. His mind tried to make sense of what he was seeing. This couldn't be real. People didn't look like this. But she was right there, hurt and dying in his backyard. The woman's eyes opened and looked right at him. When she spoke, her voice was soft and musical, but the words were strange. "Please," she said in broken English, "help me." Jack made his decision. He didn't care if she was human or something else. She needed help, and he wasn't the kind of man who walked away from someone in trouble. "I've got you," Jack said. He put the flashlight in his mouth and picked her up. She was lighter than he expected, but her body was warm like any person's would be. He carried her through the storm back to his house. Emma was waiting by the window with a candle. When she saw her father carrying someone, she ran to open the door. "Is she okay?" Emma asked as Jack brought the woman inside. "I don't know yet," Jack said. He laid her on the couch and got more candles so he could see better. In the light, the woman looked even more strange and beautiful. The silver lines on her skin seemed to pulse with a faint light. Her armor was made of some metal Jack had never seen before. "She's like in my drawings," Emma whispered, staring at the woman with wide eyes. Jack looked at his daughter, then at the woman on his couch. Emma was right. This woman looked exactly like the aliens Emma always drew. But that was impossible. Emma had never seen anything like this before. Or had she? Jack spent the whole night taking care of the strange woman. He cleaned her cuts with warm water and wrapped them with clean towels. The woman drifted in and out of sleep, sometimes speaking in her strange language. Emma refused to go to bed. She sat on the floor next to the couch, watching the woman with curious eyes. Every few minutes, she would whisper, "Is she going to be okay, Dad?" "I hope so," Jack would answer each time. When morning came, the storm was over. Sunlight came through the windows, and Jack could see the woman more clearly. She was definitely not human, but she looked peaceful sleeping on his old couch. The woman's eyes opened slowly. She looked around the room, then at Jack and Emma. For a moment, she seemed afraid. Then she tried to sit up and winced in pain. "Easy," Jack said gently. "You're hurt pretty bad." The woman looked at him with those strange blue eyes. "You ... helped me," she said in careful English. "Why?" Jack shrugged. "You needed help. That's reason enough." The woman stared at him like she couldn't believe what he said. "I am not like you. So what?" Emma said, moving closer. "You're still a person. Dad always says we help people who need help." The woman looked at Emma with surprise. "You are not afraid of me, small one?" Emma shook her head. "Why would I be afraid? You're hurt and you need friends. I'm Emma. What's your name?" "My name is..." The woman paused, like she was trying to remember something. "You may call me Lyra." "That's a pretty name." Emma said with a big smile. Are you from space? Lyra's eyes went wide. How did you know? Emma ran to get her drawings from the kitchen table. She showed Lyra the picture she had drawn the night before, the silver spaceship with a damaged side. I drew your ship, Emma said proudly. I saw it in my head during the storm. Lyra stared at the drawing, then at Emma. This is ... This is my ship. How could you know what it looks like? Jack looked at the drawing, too. He had thought it was just Emma's imagination. But now he wasn't so sure. Emma has always been special, Jack said. She sees things sometimes. Things that haven't happened yet, or things that are far away. Impossible, Lyra whispered. But she kept looking at Emma like she was seeing a miracle dot over the next few days. Lyra got stronger. Her cuts healed faster than they should have, and the silver lines on her skin glowed brighter when she felt better. She told Jack and Emma about her world and her people. I am the Empress of the Valdari Empire, she said one evening as they sat around the kitchen table. My people rule over many worlds among the stars? A real Empress? Emma gasped. Like in fairy tales? Lyra smiled sadly. Not quite like fairy tales, little one. Being an Empress means making hard choices. Sometimes people don't like those choices. She explained that some of her own military leaders had turned against her. They thought she was too soft, too kind to the people they ruled. They wanted to take over and rule with fear instead of wisdom. They tried to kill me, Lyra said. I had to run. My ship was damaged in the fight, and I crashed here. Why did? They want to hurt you? Emma asked. Because I believe that rulers should protect their people, not control them with fear. I believe that all thinking beings deserve respect and freedom. Jack nodded. Sounds like you're a good leader to me. Your people on Earth, Lyra said. They would be considered very primitive by Valdari standards. No space travel, no energy. Weapons, no advanced healing technology. So, Jack said, so most Valdari would see humans as barely better than animals. Not worth talking to or learning from. Emma frowned. That's mean. Yes, Lyra agreed. It is mean, and it is wrong. Lyra had been watching Jack and Emma carefully. She saw how Jack worked on his truck engine, figuring out problems with just basic tools and his own knowledge. She watched Emma draw pictures of machines that shouldn't work, but somehow made sense. Jack, Lyra said one day while he was fixing her damaged armor with spare car parts. How did you know to connect those wires that way? Jack looked up from his work. Just made sense, I guess. Energy has to flow somewhere. If this path is broken, you make a new path. Lyra shook her head in amazement. It took our best engineers years to develop that technique. You figured it out in minutes. It's just basic mechanics, Jack said. No, Lyra said firmly. It is not basic at all. It is brilliant. Emma would sit with Lyra for hours, showing her drawings and asking questions about space. Lyra told her about worlds covered in purple oceans and cities that floated in the clouds. Emma drew everything she heard, and her pictures were so good that Lyra sometimes got homesick looking at them. You have never seen Valdara Prime, Lyra said, looking at Emma's drawing of the capital city, but you drew it perfectly. How? Emma shrugged. I just listen to your words and see it in my head, and I draw what I see. Remarkable, Lyra whispered. But Emma's favorite time was when Lyra told stories about her adventures in space. Stories about brave people who helped others, even when it was dangerous. Stories about discoveries and wonders beyond imagination. I want to go to space someday, Emma said one night as Lyra tucked her into bed. Do you really? Lyra asked. More than anything. I want to see all the worlds you told me about. I want to meet other people from other planets. Lyra smiled and brushed Emma's hair back from her face. You know, little one, I think you would make a wonderful space explorer. Really? Really. You have something special, something my people have forgotten. What's that? You see the good in everyone, even in a strange alien who crashed in your backyard. That is a rare gift in the universe. After Emma fell asleep, Lyra sat with Jack. On the front porch, they could see the stars clearly out here, away from the city lights. Your daughter is extraordinary, Lyra said. She's always been different, Jack agreed. The other kids at school don't understand her. They think she's weird because she loves space so much. The other children are fools, Lyra said firmly. Emma has a mind that can see beyond the ordinary. On my world, she would be treasured. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, looking up at the stars. Lyra, Jack said finally, what are you going to do? You can't stay here forever. Lyra sighed. I know. My people will be looking for me, both my friends and my enemies. I must contact my loyal followers and find a way to take back my throne. That sounds dangerous. Very dangerous. That is why I must leave soon. I will not put you and Emma in danger. Jack turned to look at her. What if we want to help? Lyra stared at him. Help? Jack, you do not understand. This is a war between advanced civilizations. Humans have no weapons that could stand against Valdari technology. Maybe not, Jack said with a small smile. But we have something else. What? We have imagination. We have the ability to see solutions where others see only problems. And we have something Emma taught me watching her with you. What is that? We have the power to make friends with anyone, even alien empresses who crash in our backyard during storms. Lyra laughed, a sound like silver bells. You are both impossible. Maybe, Jack said, but we're also stubborn. And we don't give up on our friends. That night, Lyra lay awake on the couch thinking about Jack and Emma. In all her years as Empress, she had never met people like them. They had taken in a complete stranger without asking for anything in return. They had shown her kindness when they could have been afraid. More than that, they had shown her something she had lost track of in all her years of ruling. They had shown her what it meant to have a family, but danger was coming. She could feel it in her bones. Soon, she would have to choose between keeping Jack and Emma safe and fighting for her throne. She just hoped she wouldn't have to choose between her duty and her newfound family. Lyra woke up suddenly in the middle of the night. Something was wrong. She could feel it in the air, like electricity before a storm. Her people were coming. She got up quietly and looked out the window. In the distance, she could see strange lights moving through the trees. Blue and red lights that didn't belong in the Montana forest. Jack, she whispered, shaking him awake. Wake up. They have found me. Jack sat up quickly. He was used to waking up fast from his years as a single father. Who found you? I do not know yet. It could be my friends or my enemies. We must be ready for both. Jack got out of bed and went to check on Emma. She was still sleeping peacefully. Her drawings scattered around her bed like always. Jack quietly closed her door. What do we do? Jack asked. If they are my enemies, they will try to kill me and anyone who helped me, Lyra said. You must take Emma and run. We're not leaving. You, Jack said firmly. Before Lyra could argue, they heard a soft humming sound outside. A small ship was landing in Jack's backyard, right next to the old oak tree where he had found Lyra. Stay behind me, Lyra said. Her silver armor appeared around her like magic, fixing itself over her clothes. Suddenly she looked less like the hurt woman they had been caring for, and more like the powerful Empress she really was. The ship's door opened with a soft hiss. 3 figures stepped out into the moonlight. 2 of them wore black armor and carried strange weapons that glowed with blue light. But the third one wore silver armor like Lyra's. My Empress, the silver-armored figure called out. "We have found you at last." Lyra relaxed a little. "Kane, is that really you?" "Yes, my lady. I have been searching for you since you disappeared." Kane walked toward the house, but Jack noticed that the two black-armored figures stayed back near the ship. Something about them made Jack nervous. "Kane," Lyra said as her captain approached, "how did you find me?" "Your ship's emergency beacon finally came online yesterday. We tracked it here." Kane stopped a few feet away and bowed. "Are you injured? Do you need medical attention?" "I am well, thanks to these humans who found me," Lyra said, gesturing to Jack. "This is Jack Miller. He saved my life." Kane looked at Jack with surprise. "You helped our Empress? Even though you knew nothing about her?" "She needed help," Jack said simply. That was enough. Kane studied Jack for a moment, then smiled. "You have great honor, Jack Miller." But then Kane's expression changed. He looked worried. "My lady, I must tell you something. The Council has put a price on your head. There are hunters looking for you everywhere." "I know," Lyra said. "That is why I was running when I crashed here." "The problem is," Kane said slowly, "I was not the only one who picked up your beacon signal." As if his words had summoned them, the two black-armored figures began walking toward the house. Now Jack could see their faces in the moonlight. They looked like Lyra's people, but their eyes were cold and mean. "Empress Lyra," one of them called out, "by order of the Military Council, you are to come with us." "I do not recognize the authority of the Council," Lyra said coldly. "They are traitors and usurpers." "Then you will die here," the second assassin said. Raising his weapon. Everything happened very fast. After that, Kane jumped in front of Lyra, pulling out his own weapon. The assassins fired blue beams of energy that lit up the night. Kane fired back, his silver armor glowing as it absorbed the enemy shots. Jack ran back into the house. "Emma, get up. We have to go." But Emma was already awake, standing by her window, watching the fight outside. "Dad, they're trying to hurt Lyra." "I know, sweetheart. We need to get somewhere safe." "No," Emma said firmly. "We need to help her." Before Jack could stop her, Emma ran outside into the middle of the fight. Jack's heart nearly stopped as he saw his little girl running toward alien weapons and deadly energy beams. "Emma, get back here," Jack shouted, but Emma had an idea. She ran to Jack's truck and started honking the horn as loud as she could. The sound echoed across the forest, sharp and annoying. The assassins turned toward the noise, confused. That moment of distraction was all Kane needed. He shot one of them, and the black-armored figure fell to the ground. The second assassin turned his weapon toward Emma. Jack didn't think. He just acted. He grabbed his hunting rifle from the house and fired. The bullet hit the assassin's weapon and knocked it out of his hands. "Nice shot," Kane called out, but the fight wasn't over. The remaining assassin pulled out a knife that glowed with the same blue energy as his weapon. He ran toward Lyra, fast as lightning. Emma was closest to him. Without thinking, she stuck out her foot and tripped him. The assassin went down hard, his knife flying away into the darkness. Kane was on him in seconds, his own weapon pointed at the assassin's head. "Yield," Kane commanded. The assassin looked around at Kane, Jack with his rifle, Emma standing brave despite being scared, and Lyra watching with proud eyes. He was outnumbered and outgunned. "I yield," he said bitterly. Jack ran to Emma and picked her up, holding her tight. "Don't ever scare me like that again." "I had to help," Emma said. "Lyra is our friend." Lyra walked over to them, her armor fading away. She looked at Jack with amazement. "You shot his weapon right out of his hands. That was an impossible shot in the dark." "I've been hunting since I was Emma's age," Jack said. "You learned to shoot what you're aiming at." "And Emma," Lyra said, kneeling down to the little girl's level. You were very brave. You helped save all of us. Emma smiled proudly. I knew we could beat them if we worked together. Kane secured the unconscious assassin, while Jack and Lyra checked on the one who had yielded. He was hurt, but alive. What do we do with them? Jack asked. We question them, Lyra said. I need to know how many more are coming and what the council is planning. But before they could ask any questions, more lights appeared in the sky. Bigger lights this time. More ships, Kane said grimly. Too many to fight. My lady, he said to Lyra, we must leave now. My ship can take us away from here. What? About Jack and Emma? Lyra asked. The council will know they helped me. They will not be safe here. Jack looked at his house, the place where he had raised Emma since Lessa died. It was their whole world. But Emma was looking up at the alien ships in the sky with excitement instead of fear. Can we go with them, Dad? Emma asked. Can we go to space? Jack looked at his daughter, then at Lyra, then at the approaching ships. He made the same kind of decision he had made the night he found Lyra in the storm. The right decision, even if it was scary. Looks like we're going on an adventure, he said. Emma cheered and hugged him tight. Lyra smiled with relief. Are you sure? Lyra asked Jack. Once we leave Earth, everything will change. You can never go back to your old life. Jack looked around at his simple house, his truck, his quiet life as a small-town mechanic. Then he looked at his daughter's happy face and at the woman who had become their friend. Sometimes change is good, he said. Besides, Emma's been dreaming about space her whole life. Maybe it's time to make those dreams come true. Kane's ship was small, but fast. As they lifted off into the night sky, Jack held Emma on his lap, and they both pressed their faces to the window. Below them, Montana got smaller and smaller until it was just lights in the darkness. We're really flying, Dad, Emma said with wonder. Yes, we are, Jack said, still not quite believing it himself. Lyra sat across from them, watching Jack and Emma's faces as they saw Earth from space for the first time. She had seen many worlds and many people, but she had never seen such pure joy and wonder. Where are we going? Emma asked. To gather my loyal forces, Lyra said, and to plan how to take back my empire. Will it be dangerous? Jack asked. Lyra was quiet for a moment. Very dangerous. But you have already proven that humans can do impossible things when they need to. Emma looked out at the stars surrounding them. They were so bright and clear in space, not like looking at them from Earth. I think we can help, she said confidently. We're good at helping people. Jack squeezed his daughter's hand. Yes, we are. As their ship flew deeper into space, carrying them toward adventures they couldn't imagine, Jack realized something important. He had thought he was just helping an injured stranger in a storm. But really, he had been helping his family find their destiny among the stars. Kane's ship flew for 3 days through space before they reached the hidden base where Lyra's loyal followers were waiting. Jack and Emma spent those days looking out the windows at stars and planets they had never imagined. Emma drew everything. She saw strange worlds with 2 suns, space stations that looked like giant flowers, and ships that moved like silver fish through the darkness. Her drawings were so good that Kane kept looking over her shoulder in amazement. How does she know what those ships look like inside? Kane asked Jack quietly. She draws details that only someone who has been on board would know. Jack shrugged. Emma sees things, always has. I stopped trying to understand it years ago. When they finally arrived at the base, Jack was surprised. It wasn't on a planet at all, but built inside a huge asteroid that had been hollowed out. Ships came and went through openings in the rock, and lights shone from windows carved into the stone walls. Welcome to Haven Station, Lyra said as their ship docked. This is where my people have been hiding since the council took over. The station was full of Valderai who looked like Lyra, with silver lines on their skin and bright blue eyes. But when they saw Jack and Emma, they stared like they had never seen humans before. "My lady," one of the officers said to Lyra, "why have you brought primitives here?" "This is a military base." Lyra's eyes flashed with anger. "These humans saved my life. They will be treated with respect and honor." "But they cannot understand our technology or our ways," the officer protested. "Really?" Lyra said coldly. She turned to Jack. "Show him what you did to repair my armor." Jack pulled out a small device he had built using parts from Lyra's damaged armor and pieces from Kane's ship. It glowed with soft blue light and hummed quietly. "What is that?" the officer asked, surprised. "It's a power booster," Jack said. "Your people's armor runs on energy cells, but the cells drain fast during combat. This device takes energy from anywhere nearby and feeds it back into the armor. Makes it last 3 times longer." The officer stared at the device. "That is ... that is actually brilliant. Our best engineers have been working on that problem for years. Jack figured it out in 2 days," Lyra said proudly. The officer looked at Jack with new respect. "Forgive me. I did not understand." Emma tugged on Lyra's silver robe. "Can I see the command center? I want to see how you control all the ships." Lyra smiled. "Of course, little one." The command center was huge, with screens showing star maps and ship positions. Officers worked at stations that looked like they were made of light and crystal. Emma stared at everything with wide eyes. "This is Commander Vale," Lyra said, introducing them to a tall woman with kind eyes. "She has been leading my forces while I was missing." Commander Vale knelt down to Emma's level. "So you are the human child who has been drawing our ships. Kane showed me your pictures. They are very good." Emma blushed. "Thank you. I like drawing spaceships. Would you like to see how our real ships work?" Emma nodded eagerly. Commander Vale led them to a big table covered with moving lights that showed all the ships in their fleet. "We have 50 ships," Vale explained, "but the Council has over 200. We need a plan to win despite being outnumbered." Jack studied the display. "What kind of ships does the Council have?" "Big, heavy warships," Vale said. "They are powerful but slow." "And yours? Smaller and faster, but not as heavily armed." Emma had been listening quietly, but now she spoke up. "In my dad's truck, when something big and slow chases us, we don't try to fight it head on. We go around it and attack from behind." Commander Vale looked at Emma with surprise. "That is actually a sound strategy, but the Council's ships have sensors. They would see us coming from any direction." Emma frowned, thinking hard. And she grabbed some paper and started drawing. "What if you didn't come from any direction they expected?" She drew a picture of the battle, but instead of showing the ships fighting in empty space, she drew them near a planet. "What if you hid your ships inside the planet's atmosphere?" Emma said, "The big ships can't go there because they're too heavy. But your small ships can hide in the clouds and then surprise them." Commander Vale stared at the drawing. "The sensor. Interference from the atmosphere would hide our ships completely. They would never see us coming until it was too late." "But which planet?" Kane asked. "We would need one with thick clouds and strong sensor interference." Emma started drawing again. This time, she drew a planet with purple and gold clouds swirling around it. "This one," she said confidently. Everyone looked at the drawing then. At the star maps, Commander Vale's face went pale. "That is Kithara Prime," she whispered. "But how could you know about it?" "That planet is classified. Only high-ranking military officers know it exists." Emma shrugged. "I saw it in my head when you were talking about hiding ships in clouds. Lyra put her hand on Emma's shoulder. Emma has a gift. She sees things that others cannot see. Commander Vale looked at Emma with wonder. Could this gift help us in other ways? Emma nodded seriously. I think so. I can see the battle in my mind. I can see where the bad ships will go and what they will do. Over the next few days, Emma worked with the military commanders to plan the battle. She drew pictures showing exactly where each ship should hide and when they should attack. Her drawings were so detailed that even the experienced officers were amazed. She shows battle formations that would take our computers hours to calculate. Vale told Lyra privately. How is this possible? I do not know, Lyra admitted, but I trust her. She has been right about everything so far. Jack wasn't just sitting around either. He worked with the engineers to improve their ships. His simple Earth knowledge combined with their advanced technology in ways that surprised everyone. Your weapons overheat because you're pushing too much energy through them too fast, he told the chief engineer. What you need is a better cooling system. Using parts from old Earth air conditioners and Voldari energy crystals, Jack built cooling systems that let their weapons fire twice as long without overheating. Impossible, the engineer said when he saw the test results. This design should not work. But it does work, Jack said with a smile. Sometimes the simple solution is the best solution. As the day of the battle approached, more of Lyra's supporters arrived at the base. They came from all over the galaxy, risking their lives to help their Empress. But bad news came too. Spies reported that the Council had learned about Haven Station. They were sending their entire fleet to destroy it. We must fight now, Commander Vale said during a final planning meeting. If we wait any longer, they will find us here and destroy us before we can escape. Emma looked up from her drawings. They're coming tomorrow morning, she said quietly. I can see their ships in my head. Big black ships with red lights. How many? Lyra asked. Emma closed her eyes and was quiet for a long moment. 237 ships. More than you thought. Commander Vale checked the long-range sensors. Her face went white. She's right. 237 ships. Approaching from the north sector. Then we fight tomorrow, Lyra said firmly. Emma, is your plan ready? Emma nodded and spread out her final drawings on the table. Here's what we do. The plan was unlike anything the Voldari military had ever tried. Instead of meeting the enemy fleet in open space, they would lead them to Cathara Prime and use the planet's thick atmosphere to hide their ships. The Council ships are too big to follow us into the atmosphere, Emma explained. So they'll have to stay in orbit. That's when our ships come up from the clouds and attack them from below. But what about their weapons? An officer asked. They can still shoot down at us. Emma grinned. Not if they can't see us coming. She showed them how the planet's electric storms would hide their ships from sensors until the very last second. By the time the Council fleet realized what was happening, it would be too late. This is either brilliant or insane, Commander Vale sighed. Sometimes there's not much difference, Jack said with a smile. That night, as the fleet prepared for battle, Lyra found Jack and Emma sitting by themselves in their quarters. Emma was drawing one last picture, and Jack was watching the stars through the window. Are you afraid? Lyra asked. Jack was quiet for a moment. Yeah, I'm scared, but not of the battle. What then? I'm scared that Emma and I won't be enough to help you win. We're just two people from a small planet. What if we let you down? Lyra sat down next to them. Jack, in the past week, you and Emma have done more to help my cause than anyone else in the past year. You saved my life, gave us new weapons technology, and created a battle plan that might actually work. She looked at Emma, who was putting the finishing touches on her drawing. And Emma has shown us something my people had forgotten. What's that? Emma asked, looking up from her picture. That sometimes the best solutions come from seeing things in a new way, from having hope and imagination instead of just following old rules. Emma held up her drawing. It showed the battle, but this time it was different. Instead of showing ships fighting and exploding, it showed them working together. Valdari ships and human ships, side by side among the stars. "This is what will happen after we win," Emma said confidently. "We'll all be friends and explore space together." Lyra looked at the drawing and felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. "Yes," she said, hugging Emma. "I think you're right." The morning of the battle, Emma woke up early and found Lyra standing in the command center, looking at the star maps. The Empress looked worried. "Are you scared?" Emma asked, walking up to stand beside her. Lyra smiled down at the little girl. "A little. This battle will decide the future of my empire. If we lose, the council will rule with fear and cruelty." "We won't lose," Emma said confidently. "I saw it in my dreams last night. We win, but it's going to be scary for a while." Lyra knelt down to Emma's level. "Emma, I need you to promise me something. When the battle starts, you and your father must stay safe in the protected part of the ship. Promise me." Emma shook her head. "I have to be in the command center. The plan won't work without me there to tell you where the enemy ships are going. Emma, it's too dangerous." "Lyra," Emma said seriously, "I'm not afraid. I trust you and Dad, and Commander Vale to keep me safe. But you have to trust me too. I can see things that will help us win." Before Lyra could argue more, alarms started ringing throughout the station. Commander Vale's voice came over the speakers. "All ships to battle stations. Enemy fleet detected." This is not a drill. The next few hours were the most intense of Jack's life. He found himself on Lyra's flagship in the command center with Emma, watching screens that showed hundreds of ships moving through space like deadly dancers. The council fleet was huge and dark, their black ships bristling with weapons. They moved in tight formations, ready to crush anything in their path. "They're taking the bait," Commander Vale reported, "following us toward Kithara Prime." Emma stood at a special console Jack had built for her, with screens low enough for her to see. Her drawings were spread out around her, and she was watching the enemy ships carefully. "The big command ship is in the center," Emma said. "That's where the council leaders are. If we can capture that ship, the others will surrender." "How? Do you know that?" Kane asked. Emma pointed to one of her drawings. "I saw it. The other captains are scared of the council, but they don't really want to fight. If their leaders are gone, they'll give up." Lyra looked at the drawing. It showed the council's command ship surrounded by smaller vessels, but the smaller ships were hanging back like they didn't want to get too close to the fighting. "She's right," Lyra said with amazement. "Look at their formation. The smaller ships are staying as far back as they can while still following orders." As they approached Kithara Prime, the planet looked just like Emma had drawn it. Purple and gold clouds swirled around it, crackling with lightning. The atmosphere was so thick that it looked like a solid wall. "All ships, prepare for atmospheric entry," Commander Vale ordered. Jack held onto his chair as their ship dove into the planet's atmosphere. Outside the windows, purple clouds rushed past them, and lightning flashed all around. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "The council ships are staying in orbit, just like Emma predicted," Kane reported. "They can't follow us into this storm." "Perfect," Lyra said. "Phase 2. All ships hide in the cloud layers and wait for my signal." For 20 minutes, they waited in the swirling clouds. Jack could see other ships around them, ghostly shapes in the purple mist. It was completely quiet, except for the rumble of thunder. And Emma spoke up. "Now, they're moving into position. 3 minutes until they're where we need them." How can you possibly know that? Commander Vale asked. Emma closed her eyes. I can see them through the clouds. The big command ship is moving to the front. The scared ships are spreading out behind it. Lyra looked at the sensors, but they showed nothing, except static from the electrical storms. I can't see anything on our instruments, Vale said. Trust her, Jack said firmly. Emma's never been wrong. Lyra made her decision. All ships prepared to attack. Emma, tell us when. Emma watched her screens carefully, her small face serious. With concentration. Wait, wait, now. All ships attack. Lyra commanded. 50 Valdari ships burst up through the clouds like silver arrows. The Council fleet was caught completely by surprise. They had been looking down at the planet, not expecting an attack from below, but Emma's plan worked perfectly. The Council's big ships were too slow to turn and fight back quickly. Lyra's smaller ships were able to hit them again and again before they could respond. Direct hit on the command ship, Kane reported excitedly. Don't destroy it, Emma said. Quickly, just disable it. Remember, we need to capture the leaders, not kill them. Jack watched his daughter directing a space battle like she had been doing it her whole life. She was only 8 years old, but she was helping to save an entire empire. The battle lasted 2 hours. It was confusing and scary, with ships diving and turning through space, energy beams lighting up the darkness, and explosions blooming like deadly flowers. But Emma had been right about everything. The Council's smaller ships didn't really want the fight. As soon as their command ship was disabled and their leaders captured, the other ships started surrendering. This is Captain Morris of the destroyer Titan, came a voice over the radio. We surrender. We never wanted this war anyway. This is Captain Hayes of the cruiser Nova. We also surrender. Long live Empress Lyra. One by one, the Council ships gave up. By the end of the day, Lyra had won back her empire without destroying her own people. 3 months later, Jack and Emma were living on Valdara Prime, the capital world of the Empire. But they hadn't forgotten their home on Earth. Lyra had kept her promise. Earth was now a protected world, and she had built a space academy there for human children who dreamed of exploring the stars. Emma was the academy's first student, but she wouldn't be the last. Children from all over Earth came to learn about space travel and alien cultures. Many of them brought drawings of spaceships, just like Emma always had. Look, Dad, Emma said one morning, showing Jack a letter from Earth. My friend Katie from school drew a picture of a Valdari ship. She wants to be a space engineer when she grows up. Jack smiled as he read the letter. A year ago, the kids at school thought you were weird for loving space. Now they all want to be like you. It's because dreams really can come true, Emma said. I always knew they could, but now everyone else knows it too. Jack was now Earth's official ambassador to the Valdari Empire. It was a fancy title, but mostly it meant he helped solve problems by thinking of simple solutions that worked better than complicated ones. Just last week, he had helped design new cargo ships that could carry twice as much as the old ones, using the same principle as a truck trailer back on Earth. Your father has revolutionized our entire transportation system, Lyra told Emma as they walked through the palace gardens. His ideas are being used throughout the Empire. Emma grinned. Dad's really smart. He just doesn't like to brag about it. They stopped at Emma's favorite spot in the garden, where she could see the spaceport through the trees. Ships came and went constantly, carrying people and goods between hundreds of worlds. Lyra, Emma said, can I ask you something? Of course. Little one, do you ever miss the way things were before? When you were just an Empress, and we were just humans on Earth. Lyra thought about it for a moment. Sometimes I miss the quiet. Being an Empress is complicated, and now that we're building relationships with Earth and other worlds, it's even more complicated. She knelt down next to Emma. But then I remember that night when your father found me in the storm. I was alone, and hurt and afraid. Now I have a family, and my empire has new friends and new ideas. That's worth all the complications. Emma hugged her. I'm glad Dad found you too. That evening, as Emma worked on her homework, she found herself drawing again. But this time, instead of spaceships and aliens, she was drawing something new. She drew children from Earth and children from Valdari worlds playing together. She drew human engineers working with alien scientists. She drew her father shaking hands with creatures from distant stars. Jack looked over her shoulder at the drawing. What's that one about? The future, Emma said simply. I can see it sometimes, just like I could see the battle. Humans and aliens working together, exploring new worlds, helping each other. She pointed to a small figure in the corner of the drawing. That's me when I'm grown up. I'm captain of my own spaceship, and I'm taking human and alien children to visit new planets. Jack smiled and ruffled her hair. I bet you will be. Outside their window, the stars were coming out. But they weren't distant points of light anymore. They were destinations, places where Emma and others like her would go to explore and discover and make friends. Emma had always dreamed of the stars. Now, thanks to a chance meeting during a storm, those dreams were teaching an entire galaxy new ways to fly. Years later, when Emma became the youngest starship captain in Valdari history, people would ask her how it all started. She would always give the same answer. It started with my dad helping someone who needed help, even though she was different from us. Everything good that happened came from that one choice to be kind. And in schools across both Earth and the Valdari worlds, children would draw pictures of spaceships and dream of the day when they too could make friends among the stars. The future Emma had drawn as a child was coming true, one dream at a time.